I still recall the moment I first understood that imagination is far more than a playground for idle thoughts. It is the very workshop where the clay of our circumstances is molded into the shape of our desires. In the quiet hush before dawn, when the world is still and your mind is free from the chatter of the day, there lies a sacred window into your inner realm. It was in that tender hour that I learned to sit in stillness, closing my eyes to the outer world and opening them wide to the vivid landscape of my own creation. I saw coins spilling like raindrops through my fingers, felt the warm weight of gold bars pressing against my palms, and heard the subtle melody of prosperity humming in the air around me. In that simple, silent act of imagination, I lit the spark that would someday blaze into tangible abundance. To truly awaken this inner workshop, carve out a few dedicated minutes each day, preferably the same time, so your subconscious mind learns to expect and embrace this practice. Find a comfortable seat, free from distractions, and let your body relax as though you are sinking into the earth itself. Begin by recalling a moment when you felt secure, happy, or triumphant. Use that feeling as the fertile soil in which you will plant the seeds of your desired riches. With each breath, inhale the scent of possibility and exhale any residue of doubt or worry. Do not rush this process. Imagine you are coaxing a delicate flower to bloom, taking care to water it patiently and attentively. As your mind settles, bring into view the specific details of your ideal wealth scene. Picture your bank balance glowing in green numbers on a screen, each digit pulsing with life. Feel the crisp texture of freshly printed notes between your fingers, the smooth coolness of a metal coin as you roll it along your knuckles. Listen for the satisfying rustle that whispers abundance every time you shuffle a stack of bills. Let your imagination extend beyond the purely visual. Imagine the taste of a celebratory meal bought with your newfound wealth, the laughter of loved ones sharing in your good fortune, the comforting weight of financial security as it settles into every corner of your being. The more senses you involve, the more potent the impression you leave on your subconscious. Emotion is the fuel that propels imagination from mere fantasy into the realm of living reality. When you infuse your scenes with genuine gratitude, joy, or even playful excitement, you charge your mental images with a kind of energetic electricity. Without this emotional current, your imagination remains a sketch on a blank page. With it, you animate the drawing, breathing spirit into every line and shade. So smile broadly as you visualize your success. Laugh at the sheer delight of it, and feel your heart swell with the assurance that these riches are not a distant dream, but an intimate friend already knocking at your door. Once your inner workshop is humming with activity, trust that the seeds you have planted will sprout in the hidden depths of your mind. Your subconscious, ever eager to please, begins to chart a path toward the reality you have so lovingly detailed. It works behind the scenes, drawing to you ideas, opportunities, and connections that align with your vision. You may find yourself inspired to pick up a book you never considered, meet someone who becomes a mentor, or notice a chance conversation that opens a doorway you hadn't seen before. These are the subtle footprints of your imagined wealth walking into existence. Resistance may arise in the form of skepticism or old habitual thoughts that whisper, "This won't work for me." When that happens, gently acknowledge those doubts without judgment. Then return your attention to the vivid scene you have created. Imagine doubt as a faint breeze that cannot extinguish a flame fueled by faith and feeling. Each time you reaffirm your mental picture, you reinforce the barrier against those skeptical winds, ensuring that your workshop remains bright and warm. Integrate this practice into the rhythm of your life by weaving micro-imaginings into your daily routine. While brushing your teeth, see the golden numbers of your account balance. As you wait at a traffic light, feel the plush comfort of a future car paid for in full. During a coffee break, savor the aroma of a new business venture blossoming into profit. These brief, deliberate moments of creativity act like daily maintenance for your subconscious workshop, keeping its machinery oiled and ready for the grander sessions you hold each morning or evening. Over time, you will notice a soft but undeniable shift in your reality. You move through the world with a quiet confidence, your posture and speech carrying the unspoken message that you are already prosperous. Doors begin to open where there were once walls. Walls that look solid now feel permeable, ready to yield to your imaginative persistence. Each small win, a surprise check in the mail, an unexpected gift, a timely idea, becomes proof that the seeds planted in your inner workshop are breaking through the soil. Remember that consistency is the secret ingredient. Just as a gardener tends a plot day after day, even when the sky is gray or the soil appears barren, so must you return to your practice with unwavering dedication. The cumulative effect of these imaginative rehearsals creates a momentum that eventually sweeps aside any remaining obstacles, allowing the riches you've long held in your mind's eye to pour into your hands and heart. In this way, the workshop of your imagination becomes the birthplace of abundance, teaching you that the reality you experience outside is but a faithful reflection of the world you craft within. There was a moment when I realized that the simplest sketch in my mind held more power than the grandest plan on paper. One evening, weary from the day's labors, I closed my eyes and pictured a single golden coin resting in the palm of my hand. Instantly, my chest warmed with delight and a gentle smile curved my lips as if I'd found an old friend. In that fleeting instant, I understood that feeling is the spark that ignites the creative engine within us. Without it, our visions remain flat and lifeless. With it, they pulse with a living energy that reaches into the unseen corners of our being. Emotion is the currency that speaks directly to the depths of your subconscious, bypassing the chatter of doubt and logic. When you breathe life into your mental scenes by cultivating genuine joy, relief, or gratitude, you flood your inner world with an energetic charge that cannot be ignored. Imagine a darkened room suddenly illuminated by a single lamp. It dispels shadows of uncertainty, casting your desires in a vivid glow so that every fiber of your mind recognizes them as real. Each time you revisit that charged scene, you feed the flame, ensuring it burns steadily until it radiates outward into your waking life. To enrich your practice, engage as many senses as possible. Don't simply see the gold, feel its weight, hear the soft clink as coins collide, inhale the faint metallic scent, even taste the promise of abundance on your tongue. When your mind constructs a multi-sensory experience, it archives that vision in the subconscious as a genuine memory, rather than a passing daydream. Over time, this memory weaves itself into the tapestry of your daily attention, guiding your decisions, your conversations, and your actions toward outcomes that mirror the charged images you rehearse. One of the most transformative feelings to harness is gratitude. Before you've seen any outward sign of your wish fulfilled, practice offering thanks as though the gift is already yours. Say in your mind, "I am so grateful for this wealth flowing into my life," and notice how your posture relaxes, your shoulders soften, and your heart opens. Gratitude creates a feedback loop. The more you embrace it, the more you feel worthy of receiving. That sense of worthiness, in turn, dissolves internal blocks and primes your subconscious to notice opportunities, small or grand, that align with the state of generosity you've imagined. There will inevitably be moments when skepticism creeps in, when the world around you seems at odds with your inner vision. Perhaps a bill arrives, or a friend questions your optimism, or you catch yourself thinking, "This won't work for me." When resistance arises, give it a gentle nod without fueling it. Picture doubt as a timid animal at the edge of a clearing, afraid to approach the glowing lantern of your emotion-charged scene. Refuse to chase it away with frustration. Simply return your focus to the warmth of your imagined abundance. Each repetition weakens the pull of skepticism and reaffirms the truth of your envisioned prosperity. To weave feeling into your everyday life, adopt brief micro-practices whenever you have a spare moment. While waiting for your morning coffee, close your eyes and savor the taste of success. As you brush your teeth, smile inwardly at the thought of your growing financial freedom. During a short break at work, press your hands to your heart and allow a wave of gratitude to wash over you for every small blessing you already enjoy. These tiny injections of emotion act like daily nourishment for your subconscious, keeping the pathway clear between your desires and their eventual manifestation. In times of challenge, lean even more heavily on feeling. If you receive discouraging news, immediately counter it with an emotionally charged vision of a positive outcome. For example, if a project seems stalled, imagine the triumphant moment when you celebrate its completion with colleagues, feeling genuine relief and pride. By emotionally rehearsing these alternate realities, you don't deny the facts of the present. You transcend them, planting seeds of possibility that can germinate despite any apparent setback. Each time you repeat this practice, you grow more adept at using emotion as your compass, steering you unerringly toward the reality you've chosen to inhabit. I remember a night when sleep eluded me and I wandered into my small study by moonlight, haunted by worries of how and when. Yet, as I stared at the silent walls, a thought whispered, "What if the outcome I crave is already accomplished?" In that instant, I shifted my attention from the absence of wealth to the sensation of abundance itself. Almost imperceptibly, a calm confidence settled in my chest, as though I were living within the fulfilled reality I sought. That simple reorientation, to dwell in the end, became the most transformative lesson I ever embraced. To live in the end means to inhabit the emotional and mental landscape of your desire fulfilled, regardless of present circumstances. Rather than constructing elaborate plans or worrying over the steps ahead, you learn to establish your inner world as though the goal is already a fact. This mental posture redefines your identity. You are no longer a seeker chasing a distant prize, but a person who already possesses what you desire. By shifting your self-conception, every choice you make, every word you speak, and every action you take springs naturally from the secure ground of achieved success. The practice begins with clarity. Select one specific outcome, perhaps a target bank balance, a dream home, or a flourishing enterprise. Close your eyes and imagine a moment in the future when that outcome is your undeniable reality. See the numbers on your bank statement, feel the smooth finish of a new desk in your office, hear the congratulatory words of colleagues celebrating your success. Immerse yourself so completely that the lines between imagination and memory blur. When this inner scene feels as tangible as a photograph you've taken, you know you have anchored yourself in the end state. Once the scene is vivid, extend it into daily life. In your morning routine, before plunging into emails or news updates, revisit that end state moment. Stand before the mirror and as you meet your own gaze, speak quietly as though reporting from the fulfilled reality. Here I stand, financially free and secure. My efforts have yielded abundance. Feel the weight of those words settling in your bones. This simple ritual realigns your posture, your energy, and your outlook, ensuring that the day's activities flow from the center of attained wealth rather than the edges of lack. Living in the end also shapes your behavior in surprising ways. When you genuinely believe that finances are already in order, you act with confidence. You speak without hesitation about projects that support your new life. You network with a poised assurance, and you carry yourself as someone accustomed to having resources at their disposal. Opportunities that once seemed out of reach now feel like natural extensions of your day. Because your inner world radiates the harmony of your desired outcome, the outer world responds in kind, bringing people, ideas, and circumstances into alignment with your assumed reality. Micro-practices woven into ordinary moments amplify this discipline. While waiting for your morning coffee, close your eyes and visualize the final flourish of your income report. As you sit in traffic, feel the soft press of bills in your hand. During a brief pause at the water cooler, recall the exact texture of your dream home's walls, or the comfortable weight of a new briefcase resting on your lap. These fleeting, intentional lapses into the end state serve as gentle reminders to your subconscious. This is who I am now, and this is what I already have. Inevitably, external events may challenge your assumed reality. A bill arrives, a project stalls, or a friend asks, "Are you sure you can afford this?" When such moments of discord occur, respond by immediately returning to the end state. Imagine those interruptions as ripples on the surface of a deep lake. They cannot disturb the stillness at the bottom. Breathe deeply, see your fulfilled scene once more, and let the calm assurance of your inner stage dispel the temporary chaos above. In doing so, you reinforce the primacy of your chosen reality over passing appearances. Physical cues can support your practice of living in the end. Place a framed image of your goal, for instance, a photo of your ideal workspace or the exterior of your future home, on your desk. Write a concise affirmation on a sticky note and attach it to your bathroom mirror. Each time you glance at these prompts, allow yourself a brief but wholehearted mental rehearsal of your accomplished desire. Over time, these cues become triggers that automatically return you to the end state, making the practice both effortless and natural. The power of this approach lies in its simplicity. You do not need to laboriously chart every step or exhaust yourself with to-do lists. Instead, you dedicate your creative energy toward embodying the fulfilled outcome, trusting that the how will unfold through the hidden workings of your subconscious. As you live in the end, doors begin to open, ideas bubble up without conscious effort, the right connections surface at the right moments, and solutions appear almost magically. Your inner alignment becomes a magnet that draws the outer circumstances you need. To deepen this process, couple your end-state practice with gratitude. Before and after each inner rehearsal, offer thanks as though you are addressing a benevolent friend who has already delivered your desire. Feel the warmth of appreciation well up in your chest, and notice how it amplifies the sense of reality you created. Gratitude not only reinforces your assumption, but also sweetens the creative experience, making each session a celebration rather than a chore. In this way, living in the end transforms from a technique into a lifestyle. You move through your days as though every moment is already wrapped in the fulfillment of your desires. Challenges become invitations to reaffirm your creative authority, and each success, no matter how small, feels like another brushstroke completing the masterpiece of your fulfilled vision. As this practice takes root, you discover that the boundary between imagination and reality fades, revealing the profound truth that the kingdom you seek has been within you all along. I can still feel the electricity of that moment when I first grasped the true power of assumption. I was sitting at my desk late into the night, bills piled before me like a small mountain of worries. My mind raced with questions. How will I pay this? Where will the money come from? Then, almost like a whisper in the dark, came another question. What if I already had the answer? In that instant, I closed my eyes and shifted from doubt to a simple assumption that the resources I needed were already at my disposal. In that quiet surrender to possibility, I felt a lift in my chest, as though invisible hands had gently smoothed away the furrow of my brow. That was the moment I discovered assumption as the cornerstone of creation. To work effectively with assumption, begin by choosing one clear, specific idea of wealth you wish to embody, perhaps a monthly income that feels ample, or enough capital to launch a dream project. Hold that idea as though it is already yours. Feel it in your daily rhythms. When you rise in the morning, imagine a letter from your bank confirming the sum you desire. See the precise figure in your mind's eye, glowing as though printed in gold. Allow yourself to sense the relief, the pride, the freedom that come with having that number in your account. Feel the simple comfort of knowing that every expense you face is already covered, and that you move through the world without the slightest tremor of financial fear. You carry this assumption through your day. Notice how it subtly rearranges your behavior. You find yourself speaking differently, confidently, positively about opportunities you once dismissed. Conversations that might have made you hesitate now spark ideas and collaborations, because your mind, convinced of abundance, begins to recognize possibilities rather than obstacles. This shift isn't just mental. It shapes your posture, the tone of your voice, the very way you hold yourself in a room. You begin to attract people who respond to your quiet assurance, as though your inner certainty creates an invisible magnet around you. Persistence in assumption is essential because the outer world often tests your inner conviction. You might see a bank statement that seems to contradict your vision, or hear a voice of doubt, perhaps from a friend or even from within yourself. When that happens, treat those moments as invitations to deepen your practice. Rather than feeling discouraged, return to your assumed state with gentle determination. Close your eyes and revisit that vivid scene of financial ease. The letter in your hand, the numbers on the screen, the swell of gratitude in your heart. Imagine that scene with the same intensity you would use to recall a joyful memory. In doing so, you reaffirm the unbreakable pattern you have set in motion. It helps to anchor your assumption with words you speak to yourself throughout the day. Simple phrases like, "I have all the resources I need," or "My accounts reflect my creativity," act as gentle reminders to your subconscious that your assumed state is non-negotiable. Speak them aloud when no one is listening, in the shower, on a walk, or as you brush your teeth. Notice how your tone softens, how a small smile might touch your lips, and how a lightness seeps into your chest. With each utterance, you solidify the bridge between imagination and reality. Another powerful tool is to treat assumption as an ongoing experiment rather than a rigid doctrine. Approach it with curiosity. What happens if I truly embrace that I already have everything I need? How does it change the way I perceive a stalled project or an unexpected expense? By framing assumption as a playful exploration, you remove the weight of expectation and allow your subconscious to engage with greater openness. You become a kind of researcher in the laboratory of your mind, observing how shifts in assumption produce subtle changes in your external circumstances. Micro practices woven into everyday life reinforce your assumed state. While waiting for your morning coffee to brew, see the steam rising like the gentle unfolding of prosperity in your life. As you drive or walk, imagine the hum of the engine or your footsteps syncing with the steady flow of abundance. If you stumble upon a parking ticket or a surprise expense, pause, breathe, and immediately return to your assumption. Feel once more the ease of having resources at hand. Each time you do this, you weave a stronger thread in the fabric of your belief, making it more resilient against the tug of contrary appearances. Over time, consistent assumption begins to produce tangible evidence. You may notice small windfalls, unexpected discounts, timely gifts, or a sudden influx of helpful advice that feel like echoes of your inner conviction. These occurrences are not magic in the sense of randomness, but rather indicators that your assumed pattern is finding its counterpart in the outer world. Celebrate these signs, no matter how modest, for they are proof that your inner workshop is fully engaged. It's also valuable to create simple rituals that honor your assumed reality. For example, once a week, review a symbolic ledger. Write down imagined deposits of gratitude, creative ideas, or supportive connections. Resist the urge to tally every possible fee or limitation. Instead, treat this ledger as a reflection of your flourishing inner world. Watch how, over time, the content of this journal not only uplifts your spirit, but also inspires real-world action. Ideas for new income streams, collaborations that spark growth, or investments you once thought were beyond reach. In moments of impatience or discouragement, remind yourself that assumption works on its own timeline. Just as planting a seed doesn't yield a harvest overnight, your inner pattern may take days, weeks, or even months to fully manifest. Maintain gentle faith in the process, returning repeatedly to your assumed state with the same warmth and sincerity as when you first imagined it. Think of each return as a friendly pat on the back for your subconscious, for it is diligently orchestrating events behind the scenes, aligning resources to match the reality you have embraced. As you practice assumption day after day, you will notice a quiet but profound transformation. Your focus shifts from scarcity to possibility, from fear to confidence. Opportunities align with your inner state, and challenges become invitations to reaffirm your chosen reality. Slowly, the boundary between imagination and fact softens until you no longer question whether the riches you desire are possible. They are simply the natural extension of the person you believe yourself to be. In that seamless union of thought and feeling, assumption reveals itself not just as a technique, but as a way of life, one in which abundance is not a distant goal, but the very substance of your present experience. I remember the first time I turned back the hands of memory and rewrote a moment that had weighed heavily on my heart. It was late at night, and the day's disappointments replayed themselves in my mind like an old film stuck on repeat. I'd stumbled over a chance to present an idea to a colleague, my voice faltering, and ever since a knot of embarrassment had tightened in my chest whenever I thought of that exchange. Then, on a quiet evening, I closed my eyes and imagined the scene afresh. This time I spoke with calm assurance, my words clear and compelling, and my colleague's face lit up in approval. In that single act of revision, the knot unfurled, and I slept that night wrapped in peaceful confidence. When you revisit a past event and infuse it with a triumphant or loving twist, you aren't merely escaping reality, you are reshaping the blueprint your subconscious has been holding on to. Our minds record every significant moment as vivid snapshots, and those snapshots inform our beliefs and actions far more than we realize. By gently editing the content of those mental photographs, you retrain your subconscious to accept the new, supportive version as the true record. Over time, the old memory loses its power to trigger doubt or pain, and the revised memory becomes the fertile ground from which new opportunities can sprout. To practice revision effectively, choose a specific event from your past, one that still stirs an uncomfortable emotion when you recall it. At the end of each day, find a quiet space and allow yourself to enter that scene in your imagination. Replay it in slow motion, observing the original details. Then, intentionally tweak elements. Give yourself the words you wished you'd spoken. Imagine supportive reactions from others, or picture the outcome shifting in your favor. Feel the warmth of relief or joy as though the revised version happened exactly as you now envision. The richer and more detailed your new narrative, the more convincingly it will take root in your subconscious. Engage all your senses as you revise. Hear the applause, feel the firm handshake, smell the fresh breeze of success rustling through leaves outside the window. Imagine the gentle glow of confidence radiating from within you. When you anchor the new memory with sensory richness, your subconscious archives it, as if it were an actual experience. This multi-sensory rehearsal doesn't deceive your mind. It liberates it from outdated scripts that no longer serve your highest good. Each sensory detail cements the revised version in your inner library, making it the go-to reference whenever your mind next drifts back to that moment. As you make revision a nightly ritual, notice how subtle shifts begin to occur in your waking life. Situations that once triggered anxiety now pass by unnoticed, like shadows cast by a lamp you've learned not to fear. Your posture carries an undercurrent of reassurance, and your speech flows with an unspoken knowledge that you have already lived through and learned from every challenge. People respond to this new energy. Colleagues listen more attentively. Friends lean in with curiosity rather than judgment, and doors that once seemed closed begin to open with surprising ease. There will be times when your mind balks at the new version, insisting that this never really happened. When that resistance surfaces, greet it kindly, acknowledging that old patterns take time to dissolve. Then return your focus to the revised scene with gentle persistence. Think of doubt as static in a radio signal, annoying but powerless to block the music when you tune back in to the frequency of your true desire. Each time you choose the revised memory over the old one, you strengthen the neural pathways that support your flourishing sense of self. Micro-revisions woven into everyday moments magnify your progress. If you catch yourself cringing at a recollection, pause and mentally swap in the revised version while waiting for water to boil. Take a moment to replay a minor success from the morning as if it had been even more triumphant. Perhaps your words landed with perfect clarity in a conversation, or a small task went more smoothly than you imagined. These quick mental edits are like touch-ups on a painting, refining the overall picture of your life one stroke at a time. The cumulative effect becomes a masterpiece of self-trust and creative momentum. Integrating gratitude into your revision practice deepens its impact. After each imaginative replay, whisper a sincere thank you to yourself or to the universe for the new outcome. Feel gratitude swell in your chest as though you are honoring a dear friend who has guided you out of darkness. This simple act of thankfulness amplifies the energy of your revised memory, forging an unbreakable link between your heartfelt appreciation and the reality you now accept as your own. Gratitude accelerates the subconscious imprint, making your edited recollections shine with undeniable truth. Over weeks and months, pay attention to the tangible outcomes of your revision work. You may find that misunderstandings with others smooth out without your intervention, or that opportunities arise with almost uncanny timing. An impromptu meeting that aligns perfectly with your goals, or a piece of advice arriving just when you need it. These synchronicities are not random miracles, but natural consequences of your inner records being updated. The world around you bends gently to reflect the reality you have crafted within, rewarding your focused creativity with real-world proof. As your habit of revision matures, you'll discover that it extends beyond past events to include expectations for tomorrow. Before sleep, conjure up a vision of tomorrow's challenges and replay them with your confident self-navigating trials effortlessly. Speaking up in meetings, making clear decisions, handling surprises with grace. When you wake, you carry that rehearsed mastery into your actions, and the day unfolds with less friction and more flow. In this way, revision becomes a living tool, continuously refining your past, present, and future into a harmonious tapestry of possibility. Keep in mind that revision is not about denying the lessons of the past, but about releasing their grip on your present potential. By choosing to rewrite a memory, you honor your capacity for growth, for forgiveness, and for self-compassion. You demonstrate to your subconscious that you value your own well-being above the lingering echoes of former missteps. Over time, this gentle yet powerful practice reprograms the very foundation of your beliefs, allowing you to step into each new moment with the freedom to create afresh, unburdened by yesterday's weight. I can still feel the moment I realized I was the vigilant guardian of my own inner world. One afternoon, I noticed my mind drifting on a sea of swirling ideas, some hopeful, others tinged with worry. As I sat by the window, I paused and recognized myself as the captain of that sea, responsible for every wave of thought. In that instant, I sensed that my awareness was the spark that ignites creation, and that each thought I entertain becomes a brushstroke on the canvas of my life, every emotion a hue that colors my reality. In that newfound clarity, I felt a warm surge of empowerment, as though I'd discovered a hidden compass pointing me toward uncharted potential. To cultivate this kind of inner vigilance, I began by simply observing my thoughts without judgment, as if I were watching clouds drift across a sky. Whenever a worried idea surfaced, what if I never have enough, or how will this come together? I pictured myself catching it, examining it closely, then gently releasing it to float away. This practice taught me that thoughts are not facts, but passing phenomena that I can choose to engage or let pass. With each moment of conscious attention, I reclaimed authority over my inner narrative, deciding which stories uplifted me and which I released back into the ether. Feeling the weight of an unhelpful thought is the first step toward transforming it. When a wave of doubt rolled in, I placed a hand over my heart and quietly acknowledged, "I see you, and I know you no longer serve me." In that act of recognition, I broke the automatic cycle that would have spiraled into worry. A gentle space opened, a breath of freedom in which I could consciously choose a different thought, one more aligned with the rich, abundant life I was determined to create. As I released old mental patterns, I replaced them with affirmative reflections that reinforced my creative role. After letting go of a limiting idea, I deliberately replaced it with a positive assumption. I am worthy of every opportunity I imagine, or my thoughts are seeds that blossom into reality. I spoke these phrases with the same warmth I would use to comfort a friend. Over time, these nurturing conversations became the steady soundtrack in my mind, guiding my subconscious toward possibilities that once felt out of reach. Journaling soon became a powerful anchor in this work of awareness. Each evening I wrote down 3 thoughts, 2 that lifted me and 1 that felt heavy. Seeing them on paper revealed patterns I hadn't noticed in the rush of daily life. I honored the thoughts that inspired me, then took the disempowering idea and rewrote it into a phrase that felt kind and true. This act of compassionate editing not only refined my focus, but also deepened my commitment to thinking in ways that served my growth. When I noticed myself slipping into scarcity-based thinking, imagining bills as looming shadows, I consciously shifted the dialogue. Instead of clinging to fear, I pictured money flowing like a gentle river, each drop carrying relief and possibility. I lingered with that vision, feeling the calm excitement of abundance rather than the tension of lack. With every mental rehearsal, I rewired my inner pathways, aligning my emotions with the reality I wished to experience. Mindful breathing further reinforced my connection to responsibility. In moments of stress, I paused, inhaled deeply, imagining the breath nourishing calm assurance, then exhaled fully, letting go of any residue of worry. As I breathed, I reminded myself that I am both the observer and the observed, the thinker and the feeling. This simple rhythm became a bridge between my conscious choices and the silent workings of my subconscious, so that the serenity I cultivated in stillness naturally carried over into my actions. Over time, this commitment to conscious participation reshaped the way I met life's challenges. Instead of reacting automatically to external events, I began to greet each situation with an inner question: which thought will best serve me now? This gentle inquiry turned me from a passive recipient of circumstance into an active co-author of my experience. When an unexpected expense arrived or a plan faced delay, I paused, acknowledged the facts, and then chose a constructive thought that supported my long-term vision. To reinforce this habit, I introduced simple environmental prompts. A sticky note on my desk read, "Which thought drives me?" On my bedside table, a smooth river stone rested in a small bowl of water. Each morning I touched that cool surface and reminded myself that, like water, I could flow around obstacles and shape my reality with the care of my attention. These tactile cues grounded the practice and kept it present in every aspect of my day. As I deepened this level of mindfulness, I observed how my subconscious elegantly responded to clear, consistent instructions. It did not question or judge. It faithfully carried out the program I fed it through my conscious attention. By curating the narratives I rehearsed, whether in moments of quiet reflection or amid the bustle of daily life, I ensured that my inner creative power aligned with my highest intentions rather than being derailed by old, unexamined. Embracing this practice of personal responsibility elevated every other technique I used to manifest my desires. Whether I was visualizing a cherished outcome, living in the emotion of success, or offering heartfelt gratitude, I came to recognize that the quality of my inner attention was the ultimate catalyst for change. In fully owning this role, I stepped into my identity as a true co-creator, empowered by the knowledge that each thought I choose shapes the reality I live today. I can still feel the tremor of excitement that ran through me the first time I held firm to an unshakable belief, even when every outward sign pointed otherwise. I had just received news that a venture I'd poured my heart into was faltering, and doubt threatened to swamp my spirit. Yet, instead of succumbing, I paused and allowed a quiet certainty to rise within me, the conviction that every thought I entertained was a seed, and I chose to plant assurance rather than fear. In that breath, I discovered faith not as idle hoping, but as an active force, a steady knowing that my imagined abundance was already taking shape beneath the surface. Faith is the inner compass that guides our creative energy. It is the felt assurance that the vision we hold is already real, regardless of current circumstances. When you cultivate faith, you hush the inner critic that demands proof before belief. Instead, you offer your consciousness as fertile ground for the unseen to sprout. You learn to speak softly to your own heart. Here is what I know to be true, even if I cannot yet see it. This gentle dialogue rewires the subconscious, replacing hesitation with a steady drumbeat of confidence that underlies every choice and action. To strengthen this living assurance, begin each morning with a simple declaration. Before the mind is cluttered by news headlines or everyday tasks, close your eyes and breathe deeply. In that stillness, repeat a phrase that resonates with your heart. Perhaps, I rest in the certainty of my abundance, or I trust the process unfolding within me. Say it not as a chant, but as a heartfelt statement, allowing its meaning to settle in your chest. Feel its warmth spreading through your body as if you've wrapped yourself in a soft cloak of assurance. With each repetition, you anchor faith more deeply into your being. Persistence is the companion of faith. It is the daily recommitment to the mental and emotional posture you've chosen, even when evidence seems lacking. Think of persistence as the loyal friend who shows up at dawn, carrying a lantern of determination into the dark corridors of doubt. When setbacks occur, bills arrive, plans stall, or outside voices question your resolve, persistence reminds you that these are but fleeting ripples on the surface. It nudges you back to your inner workshop, where the real work of creation quietly unfolds. Cultivating persistence means establishing rituals that tether you to your vision. Perhaps you set aside 5 minutes before sleep to revisit the richest scene in your imagination, feeling its texture, its sounds, its joyous release. Maybe you place a small token, like a smooth stone or a coin, on your desk, and each time you touch it, you remember to return to the state of fulfilled desire. These rituals need not be elaborate. Their power lies in their regularity. With each faithful return, you reinforce the neural pathways that sustain your creative conviction. When faith and persistence intertwine, they create a potent synergy. Faith provides the unshakable belief. Persistence offers the steady cadence of practice. Together, they form an unbreakable alliance that carries your inner vision across the threshold into everyday life. You begin to notice how your choices, no matter how small, align with the abundance you know to be true. Conversations open doors, ideas crystallize at opportune moments, and each action, guided by that deep assurance, invites supportive circumstances to appear. Micro-practices woven into ordinary moments keep this alliance alive. While waiting for your coffee to brew, close your eyes and feel the warmth of your imagined riches as if they were already in hand. As you brush your teeth, whisper gratitude for the invisible pathways forming behind the scenes. During a short break, pause to place a hand on your heart and reaffirm your commitment. I stand in faith. I return with persistence. These tiny affirmations act like pulses that sustain the energy of creation throughout your day. Obstacles may still arise, but they become invitations rather than roadblocks. When a challenge appears, greet it with curiosity. How can I deepen my faith in this moment? Or, what small act of persistence can I offer now? By reframing difficulties as creative prompts, you transform adversity into a teacher. Each time you choose faith over fear, persistence over resignation, you send a clear message to your subconscious. This is the pattern I stand by. Over time, that message writes itself into the very fabric of your reality. Embrace each day as an opportunity to reaffirm your creative partnership with faith and persistence, knowing that every moment spent in assured feeling and devoted practice brings your imagined riches one step closer to tangible form. I still remember the afternoon I caught myself in a loop of unkind thoughts, criticizing every misstep, replaying moments of embarrassment as if they defined me. As I sat in the quiet of my study, I realized that these silent conversations in my mind were like radio broadcasts I'd tuned into without choosing the station. In that instant, I became aware that each inner phrase I whispered to myself was shaping the contours of my experience, coloring my moods, my choices, and ultimately, the world I inhabit. Our habitual self-talk often goes unnoticed, yet it steers our emotions and actions with unerring precision. When the inner dialogue murmurs doubt, "I can't handle this," or "I'm not deserving," those words seep into the subconscious and become self-fulfilling prophecies. Conversely, when we deliberately cultivate encouraging, possibility-filled thoughts, "I am learning and growing," or "I welcome opportunities today," we plant seeds of confidence that blossom into real-world successes. Awareness of this dynamic is the first step toward reclaiming creative control over our lives. To practice this, begin by simply observing your thoughts as though you were eavesdropping on a friendly conversation between two neighbors. Notice the tone, harsh or gentle, the content, fearful or hopeful, and the frequency, constant chatter or occasional interjections. You might do this while brushing your teeth, waiting in line, or sitting at your desk. The goal is not to judge yourself for having negative thoughts, but to become curious about your inner script. Once you recognize the patterns, you gain the power to pause the tape, shift the channel, and choose a kinder narrative. Replacing unhelpful self-talk with constructive affirmations becomes an act of self-compassion. When a critical thought surfaces, treat it like a stray dog you gently guide back toward safety. Whisper to yourself, "Thank you for sharing, but I choose to focus on what I can build today." Then introduce a thought that uplifts, "I am capable of finding solutions," or "I am worthy of abundance." Say it softly as though comforting a friend. With each repetition, these new phrases settle more firmly into your subconscious, eventually becoming the default script your inner voice repeats automatically. Journaling can deepen this transformation. At the end of each day, write down a few of the most persistent thoughts you noticed, both the ones that inspired you and the ones that discouraged you. Then, for each discouraging entry, craft a parallel statement that reframes a situation positively. If you wrote, "I missed the deadline and feel incompetent," rewrite it as, "I learned from this experience and will plan more effectively next time." Over time, this practice shifts the balance of your inner dialogue toward empowerment rather than self-doubt. Integrating micro moments of positive self-talk into your daily routine reinforces new neural pathways. While waiting for your coffee to brew, repeat a brief mantra, "I embrace today with confidence." As you tie your shoes, affirm, "I step forward with purpose." During short pauses at work, place a hand on your heart and silently declare, "I am guiding my own journey." These small, intentional pauses act like quick refreshers for your subconscious, reminding it of the tone and content you wish to carry throughout your day. Environmental cues also support sustained awareness. Place a simple sticky note on your mirror or computer screen with a phrase like, "What am I saying to myself right now?" Each glance prompts a gentle check-in, inviting you to notice and, if needed, redirect your inner conversation. Over time, you cultivate a habit of self-inquiry that keeps your mental narrative aligned with your highest intentions. When moments of stress or setback occur, an unexpected expense, a difficult conversation, or a project that stalls, observe the first thoughts that arise. Instead of reacting immediately, take a conscious breath and ask, "Which thought serves my growth best?" Then choose a thought that reflects resilience. "I have overcome challenges before and can do so again." Or, "This is an opportunity to learn and adapt." By pausing and selecting your response, you transform inner dialogue from an automatic replay of old fears into a creative tool that guides you toward constructive outcomes. Finally, honor your progress by celebrating the first signs of change. You might notice that you're less harsh with yourself, or that you approach new challenges with a quiet curiosity rather than dread. These shifts, no matter how subtle, are proof that your inner conversations are reshaping your reality. With continued practice, you'll find that the kindness, encouragement, and clarity you cultivate in your mind begin to ripple outward, transforming not just your own experience, but the way others perceive and respond to you. In mastering your inner dialogue, you hold the pen that writes the story of your life, and with each chosen word you bring yourself closer to the abundance you envision. And so, as we draw this journey to a close, remember that every moment you dedicate to vivid imagination, charged with feeling, anchors you deeper in the reality you wish to live. By dwelling in the end, you slip effortlessly into the state of accomplished wealth. And through the unwavering power of assumption, you realign your actions with that inner certainty. Each intentional revision of past events clears space for new blessings, while vigilant awareness of your thoughts ensures you remain the artist of your own experience. Faith, coupled with persistent practice, carries you gently through doubts, and every kind word you speak to yourself becomes a seed of confidence that blossoms into real opportunity. When these 8 principles become the thread woven through your daily life, from your first morning breath to your final thought at night, you transform from a passive dreamer into an active creator. Embrace these tools with warmth and curiosity, and watch as the richness you have long imagined flows naturally into every corner of your world.